Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
Tonight, on a special post-holiday edition of Collateral Gaming bonus round, we are diving back into the Angry Video Game Nerd as part of our annual holiday tradition. This time, our top 5 favorite episodes of AVGN Season 3. So grab yourself a Rolling Rock and stick around, folks. The show starts right now. Welcome to Collateral Gaming bonus round. I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Bo Maddox.
And we are podcasting straight from somewhere in Texas. And yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast. So whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it, my friends.
Hell yeah.
And we hope that you all had a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate, and a Happy New Year as well. We are just getting the new year started ourselves, and so this is our post-holiday wrap-up. We did something similar on Collateral Cinema, isn't that right, Bo?
Absolutely. On the Collateral Cinema Director's Cut holiday special, we did the Tim and Eric Awesome Show Great Job Crimbus special, which incidentally we did not watch on DVD, so, you know.
We did not, but we can pretend we did.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So if all goes to plan, these episodes should be out around the same time. So go check that out on the Collateral Cinema Director's Cut side. But today is the holiday edition of Collateral Gaming bonus round, and we're here to continue our annual tradition of discussing the Angry Video Game Nerd. So for the past couple seasons, we've been doing our top 5 lists from each season. So we're on season 3 now. Bo, before we start, what are your overall thoughts on AVGN season 3?
I really like this season because, for one, it has a few more console reviews in it, and I always love the Angry Video Game Nerd console reviews. You know, to me, like, those are some of his most classic episodes, and in my top 5 list, I picked pretty much all of them. Spoiler alerts. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, this is really where classic Angry Video Game Nerd really kind of coalesced here. You know, like we even have the introduction of characters like Kyle Justin, you know, as a in-universe character and everything. We have like Super Mecha Death Christ. We have so many interesting characters that were introduced here. At least a couple.
Definitely.
As well as their version of the devil, which was really, really, really cool.
Fuck
but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is really where the classic feel of Angry Video Game Nerd really, really came to be here, and maybe from here on out, like this is just like the beginning of the golden era of Angry Video Game Nerd, and I love to watch it.
Hell yeah, man. I noticed one common element of the games in my list is there are a lot of franchise reviews. So, like, you know, game adaptations of movie franchises or comic book franchises or TV series. So, yeah, we get quite a few of those this season as well. And there's even more that aren't on the list. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into our top 5 favorite episodes. I'm going to go ahead and start us off with the Christmas episode, which is Bible Games 2. So
Ooh, excellent.
I really am a big fan of the original Bible Games episode. I think I brought it up on my list in our season 1 review, and yeah, I mean, this is just more of that, more of just clowning on these really bad unlicensed Christian games. Although I think maybe a couple of them on this video were actually licensed, surprisingly.
At least a couple of them. But I mean, it's really a testament to how alternative Christian media can be really kind of, what's the word? Really shameless. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean, just the way that like Wizard Games kind of just went out of their way to get around the proprietary coding of the chips in the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo is nothing short of just blatant, you know? I mean, hell, even when you get into the Super Noah's Ark 3D, like, and the rumor that id Games actually gave them the code just to kind of spite Nintendo for fucking up the Wolfenstein 3D port on that. It's
Yes.
like, I mean, it just shows, you know, just how brazen these Christian companies can be, and it's just so funny that all of this you can only find them in Bible stores and whatnot. So, I mean, yeah, it's really interesting to kind of go into this world of just underground bootleg Bible games.
Yeah, I like the one that is just straight up a reskin of another game. In fact, it's the one where there's a fucking like woman getting stripped in between the levels. And they decided to copy that game, and pretty much most of the game is left intact. They just swap out a few of the sprites and they remove the stripping woman.
And I think the whole conceit is that the character is on his way to Bible study or some
And
such
apparently
nonsense.
everyone in that town is a raging atheist with a problem against that.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? I mean, I'm an atheist, but I'm not going to go out of my way to stop someone from going to church if they want to. I mean,
Same here, brother.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, seriously.
But I think that's just what makes it so hilarious, and the nerd doesn't necessarily even take a stance here as far as the the religion goes. Just how batshit are these games? I mean, it's the same thing as Christian movies. I mean, Christian media in general is just very cringe, and I feel like any of our Christian listeners out there, should honestly be ashamed that this is what your religion represents in the world of cinema and gaming. I'd be ashamed.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all just knockoff shit. It's terrible.
Terrible. But yeah, that was the Christmas episode of the season. And of course, just watching the nerd just like rip apart these games is a lot of fun. But how about your first pick, or I guess your number 5 pick?
My number 5 pick is actually 3 parts of a whole review. And that is the parts 1 through 3 of the CDI review.
Yes.
And a big part of this was going through most of the Nintendo games that came out on CDI, which was interesting.
Yeah, I actually probably would have picked this if it wasn't already on your list, because I mean, any chance to clown on the Zelda CDI games, and those are kind of the major focus. I know he does Hotel Mario in part 1, but part 2 and part 3 are reviewing all 3 of the Zelda CDI games, 2 of which we have reviewed on the podcast. And we did a Patreon Let's Play of one of them. So, yeah, go check that out. Back in season 1, we covered Zelda CDI.
I remember that. I remember when you had to emulate that in order to play it in any meaningful way. And I remember watching all the cutscenes, which incidentally became legendary YouTube poops in their own right. Now, as far as Hotel Mario is concerned, though, there's just not much to that game. It's just a pretty standard puzzle platformer type game. But yeah, those 2 Legend of Zelda, those 3, I think it is, Legend of Zelda games, there's 3 of them. I mean, god damn. I mean, it's good on them for trying to do something kind of different from the formula that was put forth on the Nintendo, but it's like the execution wasn't right, man. It never really worked.
Yeah, and it's nice to see the nerd finally review these games because I just feel like these are staples of any video game reviewer that's going to cover bad games. Is like you got to touch on the Zelda CDI games. I mean, Peanut Butter Gamer's review of those games is also one of my favorite reviews on YouTube. And yeah, this is the nerd's take on it, and I really love it. Just getting to see him just get so pissed off about the gameplay, and let me tell you, this gameplay is rage inducing. Like, I've played it, and it's the cutscenes are hilarious, but the gameplay itself is just fury inducing.
Oh yeah, I can see that when you're trying to when you're trying to use an item, but you're near a door, and then you have to go through the door, and it just kind of goes in a loop. It's like, yeah, I can understand how that would be infuriating.
The controls, the collectathon bullshit, the fucking platforming, which is just does not work. And that's a common element, I think, in a lot of angry video game nerd reviews, are games that are just broken. Like platforming games, especially. Where like you have one job, right? Like, how fucking difficult is it to develop a basic platformer that works? I know there's a lot of work that goes into game development, but I've also kind of tried my hand at it, and something as simple as that, it's just a miracle when you see it get fucked up.
Yeah, it's like another one of the episodes in this season that I don't think you or I actually listed. It was the Wizard of Oz episode. That game,
Yeah.
the platforms literally don't work in that game. You can
No.
just completely fall through the platforms. It's a glitch that I think may have reared its ugly head in the Super Nintendo version of The Lion King, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like, talk about making a game unplayable. It's almost like a soft lock, practically, in some cases.
Yeah, no, it is. And there are soft locks in this fucking game. James touches on one of those in particular. I think PBG got stuck at the same area. There's a room in the game where you can get stuck, and the platforming won't allow you to come back up. But if you're out of rope, you're fucked. And I think, yeah, but both the nerd and Peanut Butter Gamer did the same thing. They came to the conclusion that they needed to let the falling rocks or spikes or whatever they are kill them so they could start the level over rather than having to reset the game.
Oh my god. Oh, that's terrible.
Thank God for save states when we emulated this game that we
Yeah, no kidding.
but you had to remember to set them.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, the thing about the nerd is that he plays all his games on original hardware. So that's kind of a marvel. I wonder, how he manages to procure all of this, especially in the early episodes. I mean, those CDIs are not cheap. And didn't he have to go through like 3 of them just to get one that worked?
Something like that, and he definitely goes through a lot of donations as well. There's a lot of games that are donated to him. And these games were no exception here. Yeah, I mean, they're so rare and they're so expensive, especially now. But I mean, back then, I mean, what did he say? He said that he went through how many hundreds of dollars worth of consoles before he found one that worked? Like almost $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and then all you got to think about all the controllers and everything, and this is another one of those consoles that has multiple controllers, none of which are good.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. That I remember that stupid fucking remote controller. I used it to play the Jack Nicklaus golf game that they had at the display there at Sears all the time. It's like, yeah, I remember that shit. I can only imagine trying to play a platformer of any kind on that damn thing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But moving on to my number 4 pick, I am going to go with the Star Trek episode. Now, I'm kind of a Trekkie. I grew up on, renting the old original series videos from Blockbuster Video, or it might have been Hollywood Video, one of the two.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome, dude. I love it.
Yeah, my family used to rent Star Trek the original series, and we've talked about a few Star Trek movies on the podcast, so naturally this episode appealed to me, in just the fact that it's a Star Trek episode. But I think this one's actually really funny because I like any of the Angry Video Game Nerd episodes that have like kind of skits in them where like a character jumps in and does something like the aforementioned Wizard of Oz episode, and a couple more on our lists. But this one features a whole like Klingon battle, and you could tell the nerd loves Star Trek. I mean, you can tell that there's a personal love from James for that. And
that's what I was going to say is that, I mean, he's so reverential to the original series and everything that, I mean, you can see the love even all the way down to the hokiness of the fight scene that he does with the Klingon. And then, I mean, that's really, really funny. And I mean, I think that those are the best skits is when he's really kind of paying homage to something that he obviously really, really likes a lot. You know, I mean, that's when he's at his best.
Yeah, then that'll be a point on at least another one of the episodes we're talking about tonight. But yeah, I really love the whole like the Klingon fighting bit. The fact that the alarm blares and it feels like he's in a ship and shit, and then that whole bit at the end also where he decides to spare the game cartridge for once.
Yeah, right.
But then the what do they call it? A Metron comes in and it's like, oh nerd, I'm surprised by you, and then he just shoots it instead.
Then he's just like, mercy this. Yeah, he just zaps him. That's hilarious. I love it. It just ends so abruptly.
Yeah, and the games themselves, the first like 2 or 3 of them are just space shooters, like Star Fox style, which I almost feel like if that's the video game that you made as a Star Trek adaptation, I don't really feel like that's what Star Trek is about. I mean, yeah, there are some space battles, but it's not really like the focus.
Yeah, the focus is more on the exploration and also just kind of the diplomacy involved in all of it,
Yeah.
That's what Star Trek was mostly always about, was diplomacy above all. So, I mean, just for them to just have space shooters, I mean, I can kind of understand that when it comes to the limitations of the time, I mean, a space shooter is going to be the most logical thing to do with during the Atari days and whatnot.
It was the same way with the Star Wars video games, but that actually makes more sense for Star Wars, right?
Yeah. But I mean, I guess to be fair, maybe the movies had a little more action in them than the original series did. But I mean, that's questionable whether that's what he's referencing here. But yeah, I mean, later on, some of these Star Trek games really start to kind of take that into consideration. Like they start to become more like simulators a little more. Especially one of the games that he featured, which had like a top-down isometric view. And that kind of emphasized the exploration angle, which could be a good game if you really get the mechanics right, but it didn't look like the mechanics worked all that well at all in that particular game.
Yeah, it looks like maybe it was like the execution was a little mishandled, or I think the way he puts it is like if you get used to its bullshit, there might be a good game for someone who's a Star Trek fan. And
yeah,
I mean, honestly, that game looks like it might be kind of fun, if a little awkward. So, yeah, I mean, at least, it was an attempt. And just hearing him, just get so rattled over the bullshit. I mean, the nerd hates overly complex games from this era.
Yeah. I mean, and there were a lot of games from that particular era where you just had to really work hard to figure out what you needed to do. I mean,
especially
that was
those
pretty
Atari
much a feature
games.
Yeah, a lot of those Atari games were like that. And especially a lot of the early Nintendo and Master System games were like that as well. So, but yeah, it's like all the broken mechanics and all, I mean, sometimes you could find a good game every now and again there,
Sure. But all right, Bo, what about your next pick?
My next pick is Battletoads, and a big reason for this is, for one, it's a game that the nerd actually admits is actually a good game, but that's mainly if you play it in the single player game.
Yeah.
And at first he's not aware that this is a 2-player game, but he is joined by none other than Kyle Justin, the composer and musician behind the Angry Video Game Nerd song and the guitar guy. And for the first time ever, he's coming out behind the couch, and he actually participates in an episode.
Yeah.
And it's actually a lot of fun having him there because, first off, I mean, the nerd is absolutely incredulous towards him. He's just like, no, what are you doing? You can't be here while I play the game. Get the fuck back behind the couch.
Yeah, go back behind the couch. They even show him writing the lyrics from specific moments.
The whole flashback and everything. Yeah, I love that. It's great. Like all the moments where he finds the lyrics to like a diarrhea dump in his ear and all that. It's like, that's fantastic. And then he actually gets to play on the game, but that's pretty much entirely by accident, though. Because, like I said, the nerd doesn't know that this is a 2-player game yet. So he just goes ahead and just presses start. He's just like, wait, how do you do that? Just like, I press start.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay, this is arcade style, not NES style and everything.
Where you could just like swap in at any point. And, I think it's interesting that he takes that route for this episode because, like you mentioned, this is a good game. So he's got to find something to rage over. He's the angry video game nerd. So he kind of just focuses on the fact that this is not a good game as a multiplayer game. Like having the second player just completely ruins the experience. And yeah, I mean, it was not designed very well with that in mind.
It adds absolutely nothing to the game in that instance, And I'm trying to remember if the actual arcade game was like that in any sense, because I mean, if anybody was following Collateral Let's Play and Beat 'em Up Fridays, that was one of the first games that I did. Was I played through the arcade version of Battletoads.
Yeah, I think I watched that episode.
Yeah, but I don't really recall if you had the ability to hit your the other players as well as the enemies online, because I played through it single player. But
yeah, why the fuck did they turn on friendly fire?
That's so wrong, man. I was like, friendly fire is one of the stupidest mechanics in gaming, period. I mean, and it only works in very, very specific circumstances, and this just ain't it. A goddamn beat 'em up where you're frantically going around the screen and just beating down enemies, and you have your other player that could get in the crossfire, like that just ain't it, man.
No. Yeah, that's not what you want in a beat 'em up at all. So,
No.
and just some of like the frustrating design decisions, that were made, and like the fact that if a player dies and runs out of lives, you have to start completely over, regardless of if the other player is still alive. Like, that's some bullshit.
That is anger inducing. Exactly.
Can you imagine it working that way on the arcade? Because I feel like that would be even worse.
Yeah, especially if you're actually putting in money to play, I mean, and that is a pretty serious quarter muncher. I mean, the original arcade game is over an hour long if you actually play through it, and that's with dropping significant amounts of money on the game. So, like you could probably spend about $30 just to eke out an hour of gameplay out of that damn game. So, yeah, I mean, having all of that in the NES game just kind of renders it useless. It renders it unplayable.
Yeah, no kidding. Completely, yeah. But that's a fun episode. As for my next pick, moving on to number 3. I am going to suggest the Indiana Jones trilogy. So, another franchise review, and this one's really funny to me because, again, like with the Star Trek episode, you can tell that this is something that he has a lot of reverence for personally, and he does the full get up, the hat and everything. But what's really funny to me in the beginning is he's mentioning that there's a 4th movie that's coming out, and it's no longer a trilogy, and the excitement that he has for that. And I'd love to see his reaction once he saw the crystal skull. Or wait, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what he's talking about.
I was about to say, what 3rd movie? What are we talking? What fourth movie, I should say? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, he keeps mentioning that there's like fourth movie that was supposed to come out, and this was what 2008, 2009, and I
Mhm.
don't remember another Indiana Jones movie coming out after the trilogy. So
And I certainly don't remember a fifth one either. I've heard rumblings of a fifth one. Not really sure about that.
how do you have a fifth one when there wasn't even a fourth one?
I don't know. It just happened. I can't say one way or the other.
But yeah, like we did, Angry Video Game Nerd does an Indiana Jones trilogy review where he reviews game adaptations of each movie in the trilogy, and then the Super Nintendo versions of those games, which were significantly better than the main one NC reviews.
Absolutely. I mean, I've only really maybe played the Genesis Indiana Jones games, to be honest, but I remember them being very challenging and kind of. And also the ones on the Nintendo were very challenging, even though they were kind of limited. But I don't know if I ever played the Super Nintendo Indiana Jones trilogy. I would really like to go ahead and try them out sometime, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be fun. He starts off with the Atari version of Raiders, and again, as we mentioned earlier, Atari games are known for being overly complex and not explaining anything. This reminds me of the ET review that he would do later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost as obtuse as E.T., to be honest, Because, I mean, it just literally lowers Indy into the chamber where I guess is where he finds the map for the arc and everything. But, I mean, what it turns out that you have to use two goddamn controllers. Two Atari 2600 controllers, I might add. Which is like, I mean, doesn't that almost automatically make that a two-player game? Like, you have to have two players to play the damn thing?
I thought
Like,
about that.
seriously?
Like maybe it was intended for two players to work together on it. I don't know, but again, it's just so obtuse, and there's just these strange, mechanics in the game. Just moving from one screen to the other is a whole thing because you can go to different screens depending on how you walk across. You've got a bullet and a whip animation that look exactly the same, and again, just really enigmatic puzzles that make no fucking sense, and I don't know how anyone could figure that out without a walkthrough.
I would go out on a limb and say that maybe E.T. is a little easier to figure out than this one.
I think so.
Because, I mean, at least there's some indication of what you're supposed to do in E.T. There's some indication of what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Here, not so much.
No. It's pretty bad. And then of course he does the Temple of Doom game, which was there are apparently two different versions of the game that are the same game, but it's just like an isometric platformer with really bad controls and
Yeah. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I mean, it also kind of does because it's the Nintendo era, and of course something like that would happen.
yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, it's like for all the quality control that Nintendo was known for at the time, I mean, stuff would fall through the cracks, needless to say. So,
Right, exactly. And apparently the version of Last Crusade that he initially reviews was originally only included in the DVD version, which is the Tato Last Crusade game, which was a whole different game from the other version, and I think they were both on the Super Nintendo. So that is very odd that she would have just two completely different games for the same movie on the same console.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have different games of the same movie on different platforms, like they used to do back in the 2000s and early 2010s, but here, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So,
Or was it this one was on the Nintendo, not the Super Nintendo.
no, yeah, that's right. It was Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. But Yeah, I mean, it was those games look a little bit better. I mean, there's one of them that just like straight up has adult indie during the child indie segments for no reason, but also, doesn't give him the whip until like midway through as if it's trying to actually follow the plot of the movie. The other one doesn't look too bad. I mean, I think he complains about the puzzles in the game, but that's something I probably would enjoy.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, but the Nintendo game, it has a little bit of that obtuse, you really got to fucking dig in to figure out what the hell is going on thing. But it's just not as bad as it was during the Atari days. It was
Yeah.
at least in some cases in the Nintendo era, even if you were dealing with a really heavy game that you really had to work to fucking get into, like, I mean, it at least gave you something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that fucking boss battle that he ends
Oh,
the
yeah.
episode
Oh,
on,
my God.
where he's just like whipping the dude over and over and over and over again, and he's just losing just like fractions of health. That looks irritating. So much so that he pulls out the bullwhip and just, in true angry video game nerd fashion, whips it right out of the console.
Yeah. I love the little parts of this episode that reference Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Like where he's like when he goes to switch games and it's like at the beginning of Raiders.
Of Raiders, I
everything.
love that. That
Yeah.
was so clever. Like just watching
That was
him,
fucking cool.
and he's got like the mannerisms and everything down. Like he's doing it perfectly, like in the movie with the two cartridges. And then he pulls out, the other the Temple of Doom cartridge, and he pulls the heart out like in Temple of Doom.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it.
Yes.
Fucking love it.
Yeah, the physical gags in this one were really fun. But how about you, Bo? What's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick is another good game that he actually reviewed, and that would be Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
And this episode, it's not only significant for Super Mario Brothers 3, which is like one of the greatest games of all time, and what can you really say about it?
Right.
But for one, this is where we are introduced to Super Mecha Death Christ 2000.
Super Mega Death Christ.
Fuckers! Fuckers!
What the fuck
It's
is
like,
this shit?
I love it. He just comes and he's just screaming, fuckers! And it's like, I'm just like, fuck yeah, man. It's like that. If this was Jesus Christ, I would still be a Christian. God damn it! It's like holy fuck. It's like I want to worship Super Mecha Death Christ.
A better character than Shit Pickle. I dare to say.
Probably, and Shit Pickle is hilarious in his own way. But that brings us to another question: who's better, Shit Pickle or the Nerdy Turd? I mean, I know the Nerdy Turd comes a little later in the Magnavox Odyssey episode, but it's like they're both kind of the same character.
Basically.
Basically.
But Super Mega Death Christ is fucking awesome. And, the end of the episode even leads into the NES accessories episode. I know that was an honorable mention for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the NES accessories episode is a lot of fun, but I mean, it's not really something that I would turn on right away when it comes to this particular season. I think that this one is the better episode, mainly because of the battle between Super Mega Death Christ and the Devil. But also, I mean, the things that he actually points out that's actually kind of aggravating about Super Mario Brothers 3, I mean, yeah, that rings true even to this day.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it is a difficult game that is, as he puts it, tricky dicky, and there's just certain like conventions that like Nintendo is not that unforgiving now. Like,
oh, not nearly as unforgiving, but I mean, yes, Super Mario Brothers 3. It was a game that. It has a very easy learning curve to get into as far as Mario games are concerned, but it really starts to heap the difficulty on you when you start getting into the later worlds and the later levels and everything. Like, especially when you start getting into the later gunship levels. Those are like, I mean, when you have just bullet bobs everywhere just coming at you, it's just like, god damn, dude.
Yes. I mean, apparently it worships the devil.
It is the devil. Fuck. It's made of the devil.
It really is though. Like you said, once you get into like the later stages of the game, which to be honest, I've probably never actually played that far into Super Mario Brothers 3, but I've seen it, like that's fucking crazy, man.
I would say that Super Mario World probably has a slightly easier learning curve to it than
Yeah.
in the later levels than Super Mario Brothers 3, And
Okay.
I mean, Mario World is it's a huge game, a very expansive game, but a lot of the later levels, I mean, it is some of the easier stages you can get into when it comes to Mario, but still challenging as fuck, you know?
Yeah, early Mario games are no fucking joke, man. But Super Mario Brothers 3 was a fucking craze. It introduced, the classic Tanuki suit, the iconic Tanuki suit, I should say. And which actually, I think the fact that it turns into a statue, that's a reference to mythology. But to the average person, you're thinking like the nerd does, what the fuck were they smoking?
I know. But I mean, also Super Mario Brothers 3 gave us arguably the greatest McDonald's Happy Meal of all time, with the greatest Happy Meal toy of all time.
Oh.
Back in my pre-vegan days, like I remember getting the Super Mario Brothers 3 Happy Meal, and the toys, they had like a little Mario that you would that would like spring up and jump and everything, and it had like a flipping Goomba and whatnot. They're quite possibly some of the greatest McDonald's toys ever.
Nice. I also like the like the kind of like conspiracy theory bit that he does during this episode, where like everything just ties into hell and demon worship, Satan worship,
even pulling out some numerology and shit is like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good gag.
In conclusion, all I can say is that other than being the total epitome of evil, Super Mario Bros. 3, it's a good game. So good it's a sin.
Your mother.
Oh my. Oh my god, it's a possessed NES.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
The fuck did you just say?
I said, your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Oh! Go back to hell, you evil motherfucker!
Shove it up your ass, you motherfucking cocksucker!
Power of Christ compels you!
What an excellent fucking day for an exorcism.
Power of Christ compels you! Power of Christ compels you!
Yeah, fuck your mother.
Power of Super Mecha Death Christ compels you!
Fuckers! Fuckers!
Yeah, it's Super Mecha Death Christ 2000 BC version 4.0 beta, bitch!
Fuckers! Fuckers!
Holy shit!
What's your fucking language? Fuckers!
Alright. Who wants some? Motherfucker! Bring it down! Bring it down! Ah! We annihilated him!
Yes, we did! What the fuck is that shit?
Oh. All this shit? I'll tell you all about it.
But as for my next pick, we're moving on to number 2 now. This is a game we have reviewed on the podcast, and it is Superman 64. Actually, he does
Oh,
a couple
no.
Superman episodes, but specifically the Superman 64 episode. This was one of the episodes that was heavily requested, along with E.T., might I add, even here. But so many people were requesting that he review this because this is one of the well-known bad games. A lot of people bought this game, or got this game for Christmas and were expecting, a fun adventure with Superman. And here's this just really fucking hard bullshit, starting with, just endless ring flying. I've played it. It's terrible.
So have I, and I have never got past that part where you're supposed to pick up the car and throw it. I've never gotten past
Really?
that scene.
I
No.
I've gotten past that. I've gotten through like the first few levels and into the parts of the game where you actually do like some Superman shit. It's broken and it's terrible, but it does get better than just flying through rings and attempting to throw cars within a bullshit 6-second window. Eventually there is something of an actual level, but you have to fly through like 3 or 4 sets of rings before you get there. It's fucking
Jesus.
stupid. I love how though this game was already so infamous, before the review, and everybody's been waiting for it. But he starts off by actually reviewing Superman on Commodore 64.
Yeah, I love that, man. Like, I mean, especially I remember Commodore 64 back in the day, though I don't remember playing that game. But yeah, that's a good little bit of a twist, I guess.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. And he even kind of goes on and talks about it for a little bit. And again, this is after he already did an episode covering a couple Superman games that looked terrible. But, the Superman 64, that's the part of the review that you're waiting for. And, it all ends gloriously with him, sending the cartridge into the sun. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, that was amazing. Like, seriously.
And just as pure genuine frustration, because this game was just it's ass.
Ass. Absolutely. Like, seriously.
All right. And what is your number 2 pick, Bo?
Well, it's going to be console reviews all the way down from here on out. And to me, I really like the way that him and Kyle Justin approached this particular couple of episodes, and that's Double Vision parts 1 and 2, where on part 1, yeah, shoot the skies with that double vision. Oh yeah, I mean, Kyle Justin's version of it is actually pretty cool. It's a little bare bones, but I mean, he gets the feel and the tempo and the dirtiness of the guitar down completely.
Yeah.
But I mean, first part is focuses on a television, which, I mean, I remember both the Intellivision and the ColecoVision. I although I think I may have played ColecoVision a little more.
It looks like that's the better of the 2 consoles, since it actually lets
does.
you connect other controllers to it that aren't shit.
It was the better console from what I remember. Intellivision was a little jankier. But Intellivision also had that voice modulator, which gave us that immortal B-17 bomber. whatever. That whole bit, which is referenced a few times in later seasons. And but I really like, for one, tying it to Double Vision by Foreigner and doing a pretty excellent job as far as covering it. And as far as checking out the games, I mean, the games on both Intellivision and ColecoVision, they were, I mean, some of them were okay. Like
Some of
maybe
them would have been okay if they were on a different console.
Yeah, I would say maybe the ColecoVision had some games that probably had better graphic fidelity than the Atari 2600 at the time, but
Yeah.
I mean, and the voice modulator on the Intellivision is admittedly quite impressive for its time, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that especially with that one bomb tech game, you know, where it was like, hurry up, the code. You need to use the code.
That sounds fucking
like-
stressful as hell. It's like, okay, I guess I gotta
know,
disarm
it's-
this bomb.
The goddamn game is just squawking at you about this bomb. There's all these symbols going all around the screen that you have no idea what the fuck that's supposed to be. It's like, I mean, seriously, talk about obtuse. That game is obtuse as fuck.
But I mean, the module on the Intellivision isn't nearly as impressive as the module on the ColecoVision that allows you to play games from other consoles.
That was really cool. You know, now there was a product that came out that it was this multimedia device that was a karaoke machine, but you could also get modules that would allow you to play Genesis games, Super Nintendo
Genesis?
games, TurboGrafx 16 and everything. But that was like a really expensive high-end, basically a glorified 3DO or a glorified CDI, more or less, with removable modules and everything. But in that case, I think that he said it's literally like if something came out that allowed you to play like Genesis games on a Super Nintendo. It would just be unheard of, you know? Especially nowadays, with the way that first-party games are really locked down like they are. It's like there's just no real way that would fly.
It's okay, because most PlayStation games just end up coming to PC anyway.
Yeah, or unless you're Retron and you're able to make those multi-console games, like games that'll play Nintendo, Famicom, Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, and whatnot. You know, all in one unit.
Sure.
You know.
Also, what was up with the fucking controllers on these things? They're like number pads with the spinning disc that doesn't even always get used.
I don't fucking know. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. I guess that was kind of a better selling point when it came to competing against Atari 2600, because, yeah, I mean, Atari 2600, at the end of the day, it's a classic console, but it only has one button and one joystick.
Yeah.
And that had a joystick, like two buttons on the side, and a keypad with a bunch of numbers, which you could use as game buttons. So, I mean, I guess it was a selling point, but not a compelling one.
No.
You know?
Oh. But all right, moving on to my number one pick. I guess before we get into the number one, we'll do the honorable mentions. We talked about NES accessories earlier. That's a fun episode, you know, Rolling Rock on the Rolling Rock, and
it's Rolling Rock on the Rolling Rocker.
I almost had it on my list.
What the fuck is up with that thing, man? So some of those accessories were just like, what the fuck are y'all trying to do here? You know, like that speed pad or whatever, that speed board or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah,
I don't get it. It's like, couldn't you just lay out your controller on the table and pretty much get the same effect?
Right. That was like, what the fuck? I mean, Nintendo was always gimmicky. That's the thing. They continue to do that to this day. they've arguably gotten a little bit better at it, not arguably. I mean, the sales speak for themselves, right? But yeah, Nintendo's
Yep.
kind of always been that way. And it's interesting to see all these different little accessories, getting into the zapper and the super scope and all of that. So that's a fun episode. And I like how the Super Mario Brothers 3 episode leads right into it. You also have down on here on our notes Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, and I remember you did an episode on that on Collateral Let's Play.
Yeah, I played the arcade version, which is a superior version, 100%. It's more of an isometric kind of, not so much top down, but a kind of angled type of perspective. And I mean, the gameplay is a lot of fun on that one, but the Nintendo version though is, yeah, there's a lot of issues with that, especially when it comes to the soundtrack. Like there's songs that should be there that are missing, and also the gameplay is weird, like especially when you're trying to find the bosses.
Yeah.
And the bosses in the arcade game are arguably the best part of that game. There is actually some pretty memorable bosses from that one, but from this game, it doesn't seem to be the case.
I mean, it looks like an ambitious game, to say the least. But
Very much so, yeah.
But getting into our number one picks, I'm gonna have to go with Batman Parts 1 and 2. Now, this is really interesting because this episode has kind of gained a little bit of a meme quality, especially recently with the release of Joker Folie à Deux, because the end of these two episodes is apparently basically what happens in that movie.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. We have the legendary Mike Matei playing the Joker, and his version of the Joker is so maniacal and so ridiculous that I just love it. He's just like, wah, wah, and then he's just completely off his rocker.
Once you get into part 2, like that, I think that's where it gets really gold for me. When you have Mike Matei as the Joker and just like his whole portrayal of it, he's actually kind of an interesting version of the Joker.
He is, yeah. It's not so much a Cesar Romero or a Heath Ledger or anything. It's kind of its own thing,
Yes.
sort of.
Well, like
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau's Joker.
Yeah. It's kind of its own interpretation, or like David Howard Thornton's Joker, even.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then of course, leading up to him shoving the games up the Joker's ass, a joke that probably wouldn't fly today.
No, it wouldn't. But I don't know. Apparently, it flew in Joker Folie à Deux, but so.
Well, actually,
I
I
don't
say
know.
it wouldn't fly today, but no, people were making fucking memes about it. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
just playing through all of these shitty Batman games, and I mean, I know there are some good Batman games, but he's not here to play those.
I'm Batman.
And of course,
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I love it.
He
man.
tries to say it as lower and as darker as he can as he goes along in the episodes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But the games that he actually plays in that episode, I mean, he plays like that shitty Batman. I think it was Batman Forever or Batman Returns on the Genesis, the one with the pre-digitized characters.
Yeah, so there's Batman the Caped Crusader on the Commodore 64, Batman on the NES, Batman Returns on the Sega CD and Atari Lynx, The Adventures of Batman and Robin on Super Nintendo, and Batman Forever on the SNES.
Batman Forever on the SNES. Yeah, that's the one. That game is so frustrating. I don't even know how to fucking get up to the top level of that shit. I don't know how.
And that's the one where, like you said, they digitized the characters. It looks kind of like the Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, they really tried to Mortal Kombatize the everything there. And once again, it's another game, not unlike Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, that shows that the Mortal Kombat gameplay just doesn't work as a platformer. It just doesn't fucking cut it.
Right. Yeah, not for Batman. But there have been so many attempts I mean, I shudder to think what the gameplay is really like on the Commodore 64.
Yeah, no kidding. Seriously, with that shit ass so-called joystick.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
like the obtuse controls on some of these and just the bullshit.
Yes, all the way, man.
But all right, Bo, what about your number one pick from season 3 of the Angry Video Game Nerd?
My number one pick is what actually kicks off this entire season, and that is the Virtua Boy review. And let me tell you, I encountered a Virtua Boy back in the day with one of my friends who was his sister did gymnastics with my sister, so I'd go over to her gym, and he would be there with the Virtua Boy, and yeah, I went ahead and tried out the Mario Tennis game, and I think he had the Wario game.
Nice. So you actually tried it.
And yes, I actually tried it, and I also remember seeing the demo models at Sears and everything. But I mean, my God, I'm with the nerd on this. What the actual fuck was this thing? It wasn't real virtual reality in any sense. Like even compared to what virtual reality was at that time, it wasn't up to snuff. You know?
No.
And the games, some of them just didn't make sense. Like I'm sorry, I don't see how the hell you can make Tetris work on that thing.
3D
At least the
Tetris.
way that they 3D Tetris. I don't see how that works, you know? Or that weird wireframe Star Fox knockoff that they made. Like that was just lazy.
Yeah.
And that golf game, it's like I would get tired of looking at red after 18 holes as well. It's like there's no way you could play 18 holes of golf on that thing.
No.
There's just no way.
And it's a case where a couple of the games might have actually been decent if they weren't on the Virtua Boy.
Absolutely. Yes. Like there's that one top-down Zelda clone, I guess it was, that was kind of okay, but was kind of a waste on the Virtua Boy.
There's I think he mentions there's a Mario game on there, or a Wario. I think it was a Wario game.
No, there is a Mario game, but it's actually based off of the original arcade version of the Mario Brothers game.
Yeah, there was that. I remember that too.
Yeah.
The Jack Brothers, which was I love how initially he's like, I don't even think it would be worth it to even try it. I couldn't get a hold of it. And then he's like, here's an update. Somebody sent me this game. It's like sending me a shit in the mail or something to that effect.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he gets a lot of donations when it comes to some of these games that he plays, and that's one of them. And I'm kind of glad that he was able to actually finish that episode and complete it, and actually show the entire catalog of the Virtua Boy. So yeah,
the entire catalog. That's pretty fucking cool. There's not that many of them, but
he had all of them in the palm of his hand, the entire library.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, what the fuck?
What a massive failure.
I know, man. And the one of the biggest tragedies is behind the scenes. The creator was Go Nagai, the creator of the Game Boy.
Oh.
This pretty much ended his fucking career. Nintendo put him to pasture after this.
I mean, it's just funny because, if they had just started developing another Game Boy, another portable console, that would have worked out way better for them. Of course, they did. Eventually, that would be the Game Boy Color. I'm not sure if that came out before or after the Nintendo 64. But this was specifically to bridge the gap before the 64 came out.
Yes, exactly. And of course, as we know, Go Nagai, he passed away in a car accident. He was run over, unfortunately, in Tokyo.
Damn.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this was the thing that pretty much gutted his career and ended his career, gutted his credibility as a game designer. And yeah, it's kind of sad, and I can kind of understand why the nerd probably didn't bring it up, because it's just kind of a sad note to a even sadder note to a completely sad story.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No kidding. That's terrible. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the what's funny too is this was 2008, so he mentions how virtual reality would never pick up. Nobody ever gave a shit about it, but that turned out to not be true. We actually did kind of get a little bit of VR resurgence.
Yeah, that aged like milk, man. It's like, I mean, one of my favorite Let's Play YouTubers, The Librarian, a lot of what he does is VR, actually. He does like VR Gary's Mod maps and everything, and other types of horror maps. It's like all of what he does is virtual reality, and like, the technology is 100% there now.
It's there.
It's there and it's viable.
It actually has kind of its own niche, and arguably where it shines better are games that are actually designed for VR rather than trying to port things to VR. But you can kind of do spin-offs of games. That's something that I've come to see a lot of, is that you'll have like a franchise like Batman Arkham or Horizon or trying to think of another one that ended up doing a VR spin-off. Half-Life. Didn't Half-Life do a VR game? Yeah.
Half-Life Aria, right? I think that's what it was.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then, with the Quest and the VR really did take off, but boy, did it have a rocky fucking start.
No kidding, man. No fucking shit.
And I don't think it ever became like the next big thing like they wanted it to be. Like I said, it kind of occupies its own niche, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, especially when you have something like the Oculus Glass kind of coming out and bombing the way it did, or Google Glass or whatever. It's like, I don't know.
Oculus, that was the other one. I was like the Quest and the Oculus. That's actually the bigger one.
Yeah. The PlayStation released its own VR unit as well.
Yeah, PlayStation has its own VR. I'm surprised Microsoft hasn't released one, or have they?
I don't really know. I'm not aware of it.
If they have it, nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they have. But yeah, I guess that concludes our top 5 list of the Angry Video Game Nerds Season 3. Once again, this was a great season, and I agree with you, Bo. I think this is kind of where the nerd starts to kind of really come in. We're coming out of those early episodes, like the early episode era where he was still kind of trying to figuring everything out, and here, he's fully established. And I mean, arguably, you can say that about season 2, but I think season 3 even more so.
No, it's even more so with season 3. Like, I mean, you start to see him use better cameras and better equipment and everything. And I mean, the overall quality of his episodes have finally kind of come into their own in this season, and it's interesting to see him kind of progress from there.
Definitely. But yeah, this was a fantastic holiday season. I loved being able to finish it off with talking about the nerd. And we hope that all of you have a happy new year and a good 2025. I have high hopes for this year. Stay tuned for our year in review episode where we'll cover a few releases from 2024 that we didn't manage to cover on Collateral Gaming game launch. And we're going to do something similar on Collateral Cinema as well, right, Bo?
Exactly. We're going to do our year in review here very soon. And we should also be recording our episode on The Lost, Naruto the movie, with Matt St. Jack here pretty soon. And we'll be getting to our episode on Ghost in the Shell with the Retro Anime Podcast coming up here very soon.
That's the last, Bo.
The last. Okay, sorry. It's the Naruto movie. That's what it is to me, the Naruto movie.
Well, it's only like the 8th or 10th Naruto movie, but okay.
I don't care. It's just the Naruto movie, Ash. Heart of the cards, Ash.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. The Last was something that I wanted to cover last season. We were going to do Boruto Naruto the movie this season, but we'll end up doing that later. And we're gonna re-record the Lost episode. I guess we could call it the Lost Naruto the movie because it's our Lost episode.
It is. It's total lost media
Lost.
on our end. So yeah. So if anyone wants to make an entry on the Lost Media Wiki for us, that's one of the episodes that's lost.
The original recording. But getting back with Matt St. Jack from Anime Talk to talk about that, and then retro anime for Ghost in the Shell, which is a phenomenal movie. I'm excited for both of those for our anime month. This month on Collateral Gaming, we are going to get into Super Metroid as our 50th episode. I'm really excited. We just finished off Ocarina of Time. In fact, as of recording this, I just finally got that out. So go check out parts 1 and 2 of our Zelda month content, where we talk about Ocarina of Time with Devin from the Last Video Game Podcast and Dan Rockwood as well. And like I said earlier, we'll have our year in review episode out, and maybe we'll actually get into the bonus round again this month. Since we're covering Super Metroid, it would be cool to do a Metroid related bonus round episode. So if we have time, I'd love to do that. And also check out Collateral Let's Play. I think, Bo, we took a break with Phoenix Wright Wednesday next week, but we should be back next week, right?
Yes. We'll be back with day 3 of Turnabout Sisters next week.
Or wouldn't that be the... No, you're right. It's day 3.
Yeah. And hopefully Robert will be feeling a little better and he'll be joining us. So hell yeah. Maybe we'll even be able to do it over at his place and have you on the episode.
That would be nice, because I'd love to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Is it the day 3 trial or is it the day 2 investigation? I don't think we've done the day 2 investigation yet. So I think we're still on day 2.
No, it's the day 2 You're right. It's day 2 investigation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're right.
But yeah, stay tuned for that. We did manage to get out a new iteration of Call of Duty Saturday, so you can watch me flail around in Warzone, and it's really bad. But next week, hopefully, I'll be able to regain some honor, or I should say, this weekend, regain some honor back with the Black Ops 6 multiplayer, which at least I'm a little bit better at.
Yeah. Right on.
And I would love to cover more Collateral Let's Play content soon. Maybe we might get into Beat 'em Up Fridays again. And I'd like to start actually recording the first bit of each game that we're covering on the podcast, or even just new games that are coming out. There would be a chance for us to talk about those and play those, while they're recent, which would be fun. So
absolutely, yeah.
Stay tuned for that. I think once or a couple times a month, we might go ahead and release some content related to what we're actually covering on the podcast and what's recent, what's relevant. So stick around for that, and you can find Collateral Gaming and Collateral Cinema wherever you get your podcasts. Check out Collateral Let's Play on YouTube on both of our podcast channels. And hit us up on social media as well. We are on Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, and yes, the Dead Bird app for now.
God damn it, Elon.
And hit us up on our Facebook shitposting group, Collateral Media Podcasts. We have a lot of fun there. I actually got... because of what went down with a certain individual that I came into the crossfire with today, I was banned from posting in groups.
Oh, damn it.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I couldn't post in groups today, so today I didn't get to actually post in the Collateral Media Podcasts group, but I'm in there all the time. We all are, and on all the social media platforms. If you want to support us, we do have a Patreon where you can get access to exclusive content. And here with Collateral Gaming, I would like to record some more Let's Plays for the Patreon. Maybe that's what we can do with games that we start and do the first bit of. We can continue playing. I know for one, I would love to continue doing Parasite Eve with you.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Parasite Eve was a lot of fun doing on the Let's Play holiday special. And yeah, getting through the other days of Parasite Eve would be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, man. And You can also buy us a coffee on Buy Me a Coffee. And, of course, check out our merch store on TeePublic, where you can get t-shirts and other merchandise. And anything else to add, Bo?
Other than going on Good Pods and giving us a 5-star rating and review to
Yes.
help us climb the charts there, and also a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or whatever podcasting app that you prefer to use.
Yes, 100%.
And also like and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, of course.
Hell yeah, man. I second all of that. But Happy New Year, everybody. And with all that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I've been Super Mecha Bo Christ 2000.
And this was Collateral Gaming bonus round. And we'll see you guys later.
Fuckers! Fuckers! Watch your fucking language!
Angry video game nerd is here. He hates the games that stink. He knows which games to break. He just might even hate them all, 'cause he's mad for fucking sake. You better watch out, don't give these games a try. You better not play them, he's telling you why. The angry video game nerd is here.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media Podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.